What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. Twilight played chapter 10. So in this chapter, so the Archmaster, and Yojin are talking about the spirit of the Karikura basically, so they don't know how powerful it is. The Archmage says that shows them a box with the piece of the remains of Hikari's mother, and so the chief spirit mender, did etheric autopsy on it, found no trace of spirit power. So as far as everyone knows, she's an ordinary human. Now they don't know who his father is because she never married. She never married, and the Archmaster told Yojin to keep monitoring Hikari while while they all try to work to find Karikura. But and Archmaster tells him don't get too attached to Hikari. That he should keep his feelings separate from his job. Even if he sees his own past in him. And then a woman named Yatsuo Hojo walks in. So then it shifts to Hikari, Yamato, and Kitsuki. Um, Basically Hikari's just watching TV. Yamato and Kitsuki go outside for a little bit to do some spirit training. Basically, what's happened is Yamato has to use this special jump rope that can absorb spirit power. The train has to do basically 1,000 jumps a day, and so but it's really heavy because spirit power. And Hikari's watching them all do it, and and basically Hikari he didn't know what to do. He's alone, so hey Kitsuki's thinking that she didn't sense anything, and so Yamato asks him if he could stay. He's far as he can knows it's just normal jump rope, and Kitsuki's he's like all right. So then it switches back to the meeting where Yojin's at, and basically Yatsua says that there's a special task force being assembled to kill it. And so Yatsua is being placed is the right second command. Well, as the right as in charge of it, and basically Yatsu is second command of I guess all the exorcists to the second only to the Archmaster. Archmaster is playing Yatsu in charge, and Yatsu tells Yojin, says that he seems not unconcerned about letting the spirit escape. And, she says she expect better from someone from the eighth realm, and Yojin's like, you're right. And Yatsu then brings up how civilians were caught up in the spiritual pursuit of Hikari. Because apparently she wants Hikari to be confined away from the public, and basically Yo just said, "Hey, if anyone's to blame, it should be me." And then Yatsu is like, "Stay out of this," and basically Yatsu says that Hikari's lost memories, doesn't know what he is about his own nature. And that Yoda says that if Hikari's confined, that he should be confined as well, just like he was when he was a kid. And Yato says it isn't about him, and Yojin's like he wants Hikari to have another normal childhood. So, and the Archmaster says they may have underestimated the spirit that's hunting Hikari. That he said could be the main that the extras haven't seen for the past 300 years. Apparently, it's the most ascended of all evil spirits. Apparently, when the some calamity years back then, I guess nearly half of Japan was destroyed. Over 20,000 people died, and basically, Archive says they must defeat the Karikura even if they die trying. So yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. So we got hinted, something about who the main antagonist is. Now I don't know if that means this is gonna get axed soon. They basically be just introducing it. We'll see what happens as they develop like these characters were. But yeah, I thought this was a good chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Yoroi Shinden Samurai Troopers, episode 20. So in this episode, so you have all different, the characters are separated. They're fighting, the different, whereas the beast, warriors or whatever. And so you have the 10 warriors there, the samurai troopers, and yeah. So you have where Sasuke's like injured, and, basically so Ramaga is like possessing Guy. Basically, he's trying to fight like the living uh the living members of the 10 war, like the 10 Braves. Um, so and then you have basically the Braves who are dead who are inside of Guy. They help Guy like try to regain control, whatever. And yeah, so then and Shime's like killed or whatever, and so and, basically yeah, and so you have where um basically so with so they're able to defeat Shime. She's dead, and basically looks like looks like there's some stuff regarding like the beast. So we don't know what Shagame's like you know um true motive is. We don't know. But obviously there's something going on. So Shime's dead, then you have the war. So Sagame is like trying to like do her plan. So we'll see what happens. In May, apparently he says he has the same goal as Ramaga, whatever that means. Looks like he's still a wild card in this, probably doing his own plans instead of going by Sagame. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. Looking forward to the next one. Untold: The Testimony of Vince Young. So this is a documentary about Vince Young, famous quarterback at University of Texas Longhorns, runner-up in Heisman in 2005, won the national championship. This goes into like his playing careers, some of his post-playing career, and how like some of the issues that led to him not having a successful NFL career. So in college, he had like basically he butted heads with Mac Brown early on, um, and basically like see, so like they butt heads basically like the offense that Mac Brown, his offensive staff wanted to run was like kind of different than how Vince Young played. Vince Young was very talented, but he was a runner. Um, and and basically there was a lot of like turnovers or whatever, and that caused a lot of and basically he was apparently he like walked out of the freaking like he like apparently he like walked out like basically walked out of practice one time. Basically, Steve McNair, who was like his mentor, like a father figure for him, basically told him to basically go back. And he went back and playing well. And then obviously they won the national champ. Texas won the national championship. In 2005. It's their last national championship. And then he was drafted in the third overall by the Tennessee Titans. Now the circumstance behind him being how he got drafted by the Titans was interesting. So Jeff Fisher, who was the head coach, also coached Steve McNair. May he rest in peace. Um, so Young was actually very excited because he was a big Titans fan. He grew up, cheering for them when they were the Oilers in Houston. Yeah, he's a fan of Steve McNair. So so he was looking forward to playing under Fisher. Fisher wanted Jay Cutler, the offensive coordinator. Um, wanted like the offensive coordinator for them. Wanted Matt Leinart, the quarterback who Young had beat in the national championship. So yeah, there was some tensions there. I mean, but the reason why he was drafted is basically the Houston Texans were wanting him, and the owner of the Titans basically I guess had some beef with the mayor or whatever. Basically wanted to draft Young just to piss off I think it was like the wife of the mayor of Houston. Like it was just one Vince Young just to piss off like I kind of respect the pay this honestly. I kind of respect this like just to piss someone off. You're gonna draft. Now to be fair, if Young Cat based on how he played in college, he maybe could have been a good like horror. Now apparently Vince Young he wanted to go to Florida State, but they were only gonna let him be a wideout, so that's why he went to Texas. So yeah, so then uh, of course you win the pros, you'll play for the Titans, went to two Pro Bowls, started good, things did not go well after basically his first year, a lot of turnovers, didn't play as well. Of course, you had some issues like partying, showed up late, whatever. Fisher was not like very much no notches. Like the team playing left him behind because he was late, and Fisher was basically was like, I don't care, you're late. And like basically they butted heads. Apparently there was a big confrontation in the locker room, and basically they let him go. Play for the Eagles for a year. Then he was on some practice squads. And then his player career was basically over. And yeah, I mean he basically you had a lot of the some basically like I guess alcohol, whatever, some legal stuff. Basically apparently he was able to get clean, whatever, what through like some rehab and basically, some of the issues regarding like how his father was like in prison, was never in his life. He had to deal with that. So this goes into like a lot of like his issues. So and so it's a definitely a very pro Vince Young's because you have now Vince Young owns up to some of like his like mistake. He owns up he had some issue handled it and apparently he sent a letter to Jeff Fisher apologized for how he like handled things and and basically Fisher acknowledged, yeah, and Fisher was interviewed, and Fisher just he was very blunt in how he described how he himself handled things. He was like, yeah, basically he was like, this is the because tech basically how what they was like Vince Young's mother compares like back Brown to since in college he was like, oh, we're a family where NFL's like it's a freaking business, it's a job, and to be fair that is true. College you're in school, you're preparing for employment. Whereas in the you know workplace you're at work. NFL is a workplace. Jeff Fisher, he has a job to do. Vince Young had a job to do. All the players had a job to do. And whatever criticisms exist of Jeff Fisher, he basically was like, "You're gonna do the job, or else, or you're not playing." And honestly, I kind of respect that. I mean, yeah, you can't. You do kind of have to do that. And given how their record was with Vince Young not playing very well, honestly, Fisher was probably able to get away with that back then. Now, if he did that, with his record he got with the Rams, no, he would. That would Fisher probably would have then left before Vince Young did. But yeah, I thought it was a decent documentary. I thought it was good. As a fan of NFL, college football, that was an interesting story. About Vince Young's life. Guy who did have like a lot of promise, but obviously didn't really fulfill it. When it sucks, but that's unfortunately that's what happened. Well, yeah, he, hopefully, things seem to have gone better for him, so he's worked on his life a little bit. But yeah, as far as the documentary goes, I recommend watching it. I think it's good. Well, and that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.